Todd pulled his coat tighter as the autumn wind howled around him. Rain pelted his face while he secured the last of his garden tools in the shed. The weather report had warned about the storm, but he hadn't expected it to hit with such fury. As lightning flashed across the sky, Ty caught a glimpse of something, or someone, huddled against the side of his shed. He froze, keys dangling from his fingers. Another flash revealed a figure pressed against the wall, seeking shelter under the narrow eaves. "Hello," he called out, voice nearly lost in the wind. "Are you okay?" No response. Ty hesitated, then moved closer, pulling out his phone to use as a flashlight. The beam caught on something that made him stop in his tracks. The figure was humanoid, but as the light played across their skin, it shimmered with an iridescent quality, like mother of pearl catching sunlight. Taz's mouth went dry. The beam looked up, and he found himself staring into eyes that shifted from deep violet to midnight blue as they blinked. "My God," Ta whispered. The being shrank back, clearly frightened. Ta noticed what appeared to be a tear in their strange silver clothing, revealing something dark seeping out. Blood, perhaps, but not the color of human blood. "I won't hurt you," Ta said slowly, lowering himself to a crouch to appear less threatening. He pointed to the injury. "You're hurt." The figure reached into a pocket and pulled out a small device. After pressing several buttons, they held it up. The device emitted a soft blue glow and spoke in a stilted, mechanical voice. "I am Mira. Stranded. Hunted. Help." Tay's heart pounded. This couldn't be real. Yet the rain soaking through his clothes felt real enough, and so did the frightened being before him, with 6 slender fingers on each hand. "You crashed?" Ty asked, looking around as if expecting to see a spaceship in his backyard. Mira nodded, then winced in pain. She tapped at her device again. "Ship destroyed. Escape pod. 2 kilometers south." Tay's mind raced. He should call someone. The police. The military. Scientists. But as Mira looked up at him with those color-shifting eyes, full of fear and pain, he couldn't bring himself to do it. He'd seen enough movies to know what humans typically did to aliens. Prod them. Study them. Dissect them. "Come with me," he said, extending his hand. "My house is warm. I can help with that wound." Mira hesitated, clutching her device. She spoke into it, and after a pause, it translated. "Why help me?" A fair question. Todd wasn't sure he had an answer himself. "Because you need it," he said simply, "and because I'm not a monster." After a moment, Mira took his hand. Her skin felt smooth and cool like polished stone. As she stood, Todd saw she was about his height, perhaps a bit shorter. She moved with a strange grace despite her injury. They hurried through the rain to his back door. Tay fumbled with his keys, suddenly aware of how bizarre this situation was. An alien. He was bringing an actual alien into his home. "This is temporary," he told himself under his breath, watching Mira's cautious movements as she entered his kitchen. "Just until she recovers." Mira stood perfectly still, water dripping from her silver clothing onto the tile floor. Her eyes changed to a pale aqua as she took in her surroundings. The ordinary kitchen, with its refrigerator humming in the corner, dishes drying by the sink, and calendar hanging on the wall, seemed to fascinate her. Tug grabbed a clean towel from a drawer. "Here," he said, offering it to her. Mira studied the towel, then looked at Ty questioningly. "It's to dry off," he explained, mimicking the action of drying his face and hair. She copied his movements awkwardly. The translator device spoke again. "Thank you." "Let me see your injury," Ta said, pointing to the tear in her clothing. Mira held out her arm. The cut was about 3 inches long, oozing a dark blue substance. Taz's first aid knowledge seemed woefully inadequate for alien biology, but basic wound care couldn't hurt. "Wait here," he said. In the bathroom, Ta gathered antiseptic, bandages, and clean cloths. His hands shook slightly. The reality of the situation was sinking in. There was an extraterrestrial being standing in his kitchen, one who was apparently being hunted. When he returned, Mira had moved to the window, peering out at the storm with what seemed like wonder. She turned as he entered, eyes now a deep indigo. "I'll try to clean this," Ta said, gesturing to her wound. "I don't know if our medicine works for your kind, but it might help." Mira nodded and extended her arm. As Tai carefully cleaned the cut, he noticed her skin was warmer now, and the blue substance had already begun to thicken, as if clotting naturally. "You're far from home," Ta said softly. The translator device spoke. "Very far. Different star. Different system." Ta paused in his work, the enormity of that statement hitting him. Why Earth? Why here? Mira's eyes shifted to a greenish hue. She tapped at her device for longer this time, apparently searching for more complex words. Research mission. Study humans, not supposed to be seen. Ship attacked. Emergency landing. Who attacked you? Tai asked as he finished bandaging her arm. The colors in her eyes swirled darkly. Those who want Earth for themselves. A chill ran down Ta's spine that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. Will they come looking for you? Mira nodded slowly. Yes, but device damage. Cannot track precisely. Ta looked around his modest home, suddenly aware of how exposed it was. How unprepared he was for whatever might come looking for Mira. "You'll stay here tonight," he decided. "We'll figure out what to do tomorrow." As Mira followed him deeper into the house, her movements still cautious but less fearful now, Ta wondered what he had gotten himself into. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but it seemed distant compared to the storm of questions and uncertainties now filling his mind. "This is temporary," he repeated to himself. But looking at Mira's otherworldly face, somehow both alien and expressive, he wondered if anything would ever be the same again. Retriest of 3 days after Mira arrived, Ta found her standing by the kitchen sink, watching water flow from the faucet with intense focus. She had turned it on and off at least a dozen times. Her skin rippled with patterns of light blue and gold that Ta had learned meant curiosity. "Is something wrong with the sink?" he asked, putting down the grocery bags. Mira shook her head and pointed to the water. "You waste so much water," she observed, her translation device hanging around her neck like a pendant. "On my world, we haven't had flowing water in centuries." Ta smiled as he unpacked the groceries. "And you're saying your civilization is advanced?" The look she gave him held both amusement and pity. Her skin flashed with orange patterns that faded to deep purple. "We extract moisture from the air. No pipes to freeze or break." "So no baths or showers?" Tai asked, wondering how alien hygiene worked. "We use mist chambers," Mira explained. "Much more efficient. Uses less than 1/10 of your water." Tai shrugged. "Well, we can't all be perfect." It had been like this each day. New surprises, cultural shocks, and moments where their different worlds collided. Mira couldn't understand why humans slept so much. 8 hours of unconsciousness every night. She had asked on her second day, watching Ta yawn at midnight, "How does your species survive being vulnerable for so long? How do you survive without sleep?" Ta had countered. "We rest," Mira explained, "but only for 2 hours, and we remain aware of danger." That night, Ta woke at 3 a.m. to find Mira standing in his living room, staring at the moon through the window. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark, subtle patterns of silver and blue moving across her arms. "Do you ever sleep?" he asked groggily. "I told you. We don't need much rest." She turned to him, eyes shifting to a warm amber color. "Your moon is beautiful. Ours are smaller, and we have 3. Ta had set up the guest room for her, but most nights she spent pacing the house, studying his belongings, or gazing at the stars with what seemed like homesickness. The next morning, Tai caught Mira examining his bookshelf with fascination. "You keep information on pressed plant matter," she said, running 6 fingers along the spine of a novel. They're called books, Tai explained. Don't you have books where you come from? Mira's skin flickered with what Tai had learned was her equivalent of laughter, quick flashes of yellow and pink. We store information in crystalline structures. One crystal the size of your thumb holds more data than all these books combined. Tai pulled down his worn copy of The Hobbit. But can you feel the texture of the pages? Smell the paper? There's something special about physical books. Mira took the book carefully and opened it. Her skin pulsed slowly with deep blue waves as she concentrated. Words on paper, inefficient but charming. The biggest challenge was communication. Though her translation device worked for basic conversation, it struggled with complex concepts, and Ta found himself completely lost when trying to understand Mira's natural form of communication. Your skin changes color with your emotions, Ta noted one afternoon. Is that how you talk to each other? Mira nodded. Color, pattern, intensity, movement, all have meaning. Her skin demonstrated with a complex ripple of green and purple swirls. I just said something like, yes, it's our primary language. I'll never be able to understand that, Ta said, feeling suddenly isolated. Mira reached out, touching his arm gently. And I cannot read the tiny movements in your face that convey so much to other humans. We are both limited. Food was another adventure. Mira couldn't eat most Earth foods. They contained elements toxic to her system. She lived on a paste she had brought in her emergency kit, supplemented with certain fruits Tai bought that were safe for her. It's not exactly a gourmet diet, Ta said, watching her consume the bland-looking paste. It contains everything my body needs, she replied pragmatically. Her eyes shifted to a curious green as she watched him eat his dinner. Your food smells interesting, but would make me very sick. 1 week after her arrival, Tai decided to play the piano. It had been his mother's, and though he wasn't particularly skilled, he enjoyed playing in the evenings. As his fingers moved across the keys, playing a simple Chopin nocturne, he glanced up to see Mira standing in the doorway. Her entire body had gone still. The colors across her skin moved in slow, rhythmic waves that matched the tempo of the music. Her eyes had shifted to a color Tai had never seen before, a deep, luminous violet. When he finished playing, he noticed something trailing down her cheek. A tear, but with a slight blue tint. Are you crying? He asked, surprised. Mira touched her face, looking equally surprised at the moisture there. The vibrations. I can see them. See the music? Tai asked, confused. She nodded, moving closer to the piano. On my world, sound and light are not so separate as they are for humans. The music creates waves of light for me, colors you cannot imagine. Her voice trembled slightly. It's beautiful in a way I've never experienced. Would you like me to play more? Tai asked softly. Mira nodded and sat beside him on the piano bench. As Ta began to play again, he watched in wonder as colors danced across her skin in perfect harmony with the music. It was as if her body had become an instrument itself, responding to each note with its own symphony of light. In that moment, despite the vast differences between their worlds, Ta felt a connection forming, a bridge built of music that transcended the barriers of language and biology. When he finished playing, Mira was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. I came to study humans, she said softly, but I never expected to find such beauty here. Her skin pulsed with gentle gold waves. Perhaps our worlds are not so different after all. Ta smiled, realizing that in teaching Mira about Earth, he was beginning to see his own world through new eyes, and finding wonder in things he had always taken for granted. Ta placed a bowl of soup on the table in front of Mira. 1 month had passed since he found her huddled against his shed in the storm. During that time, she had learned more English, mostly from watching TV and reading his books. Her pronunciation was still odd, with certain sounds that seemed to catch in her throat, but they could now talk without her translation device for simple conversations. I made vegetable soup, Ta said, sitting across from her. I checked. All ingredients are safe for you. Mira sniffed the steam rising from the bowl. Her skin rippled with soft pink gratitude. Thank you. You are kind to adapt your cooking. They ate quietly for a few minutes. Ta had grown used to her presence in his home, though he still found himself staring sometimes at the subtle alien features of her face, the too smooth skin, the eyes that changed color with her moods, now a contented blue-green. May I ask you something? Ta finally said, breaking the silence. Why was your ship near Earth in the first place? Mira set down her spoon. Her skin darkened slightly, which Ta had learned meant she was choosing her words carefully. Earth is known as a quarantine world, she explained. We observe but do not interfere. Tay frowned. Like zoo animals, he muttered. Mira shook her head quickly. No. Like promising children. Humans have qualities rarely seen together. Creativity paired with determination. Logic with emotion. Her skin brightened with enthusiasm. Many species develop technology first, art later, or have great empathy but little drive. Humans balance these traits unusually well. Tai tried to process this information. The idea that Earth was being watched by advanced civilizations made him feel both important and uncomfortable. How many other worlds are out there with intelligent life? He asked. Mira hesitated. In this galaxy, over 200 with spaceflight capability, thousands with some form of civilization. Tai nearly choked on his soup. Thousands, and none have contacted us. It is forbidden, Mira said simply. Each world must reach certain stages on their own. First contact happens when a species develops faster than light travel, or when special circumstances arise. Special circumstances, Tai asked. Like extinction threats, or, she gestured to herself, accidental contact. Tai stirred his soup thoughtfully. Then why are you hiding from your own people? Shouldn't they help you get home? Her expression darkened. The colors on her skin shifted to deep blues and purples. Not all agree that Earth should develop naturally. Some wish to harvest your planet's resources. Others want to elevate humanity prematurely. She touched a small device hidden beneath her clothing. I could call for rescue, but it might reveal Earth's location to the wrong faction. The implications of that statement hung in the air between them. Ta set down his spoon. Are we in danger? Is Earth in danger? Mira's eyes shifted to a troubled gray. My ship was attacked near your orbit. That is not coincidence. Tai pushed away from the table and walked to the window, looking up at the night sky with new awareness. Stars that had once seemed distant and harmless now felt like watching eyes. Who attacked you? He asked. The collectors, Mira said quietly. They believe developing worlds are resources to be used, not equals to be welcomed. And what do your people believe? The preservers, my faction, believe all intelligent life deserves the chance to develop naturally. Her skin flickered with what Tai recognized as pride. We are the largest faction in the Galactic Council, but not the only one. Tai returned to the table, his mind racing. You mentioned a Galactic Council. What exactly is that? 217 species, Mira explained, working together to maintain balance. Some very old, some new to space, each with one vote. And Earth knows nothing about this, Ta said, a hint of anger in his voice. Decisions about our future being made without us. Mira's skin rippled with understanding. That is why I study human culture, to represent your interests until you can join yourselves. Tai tried to imagine it. A vast council of alien species, different biologies, different minds, somehow working together across the stars. It seemed impossible. What happens when a world joins this council? He asked. Knowledge exchange, trade routes, protection agreements. Mira's eyes brightened. Access to medical technology that eliminated disease among member worlds centuries ago. And when is Earth supposed to join? At your current pace, perhaps 100 years, maybe less. She smiled, an expression she had learned from humans. Your species advances quickly when challenged. Tay rubbed his temples. It was too much to take in. So while we're down here fighting each other over borders and resources, there's an entire galactic community waiting for us to grow up. Yes, Mira said simply. And some of them don't want us to get there at all. Mira nodded solemnly. Which is why I cannot risk sending a distress signal yet. Not until I'm certain it will reach only my people. Todd looked at her with new understanding. You're protecting us. Her skin flushed with deep red embarrassment. I am doing what any preserver would do. Is that why you crashed? Were you trying to escape the collectors? Yes. They detected our research vessel. Her eyes turned a dark, stormy blue at the memory. My team. I don't know if any others survived. Tay reached across the table and took her six-fingered hand in his. Her skin was cool and smooth against his palm. I'm sorry, he said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Tay asked the question that had been building in his mind since the beginning of their conversation. If the collectors find you here, what happens to Earth? Mira's skin went very still, the colors fading to a dull gray. Best case, they take me and leave, believing me the only witness. Worst case, she met his eyes. They might decide Earth knows too much. Quarantine worlds that discover the galactic community prematurely or sometimes. Reset. Reset. Tay's voice was barely a whisper. It has happened only 3 times in known history, Mira said quietly. But yes, the collectors have destroyed civilizations they deemed compromised. Tay felt cold fear settle in his stomach. Because of random contact like this. Mira nodded. Which is why I must repair my communication device without being detected. Contact only those I trust. Her skin pulsed with determination. I will not let your world be harmed because of me. Outside, the stars continued their silent watch over Earth, a world that now seemed both smaller and more precious to Todd than ever before. Todd was grilling fish in his backyard when he first noticed the strange buzzing sound. It was faint, barely there at all. He looked up, squinting against the setting sun. Something small darted across the orange sky, too fast to see clearly. Probably just a dragonfly, he muttered, turning back to the grill. But when he looked up again, he saw it hovering. A metallic object no bigger than his palm. It made no sound now as it floated in place, about 15 feet above his yard. Definitely not a dragonfly, not a bird. Not even like any drone Ty had ever seen. His heart raced as he casually closed the grill lid and walked inside, trying to appear normal. Mira sat on the living room floor, working on repairing her communication device with parts Ta had brought from the electronics store. Something's outside, Ta said quietly. In the sky. Mira's skin instantly darkened to a deep gray color. She set down her tools and moved to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain. After one quick glance, she backed away, her eyes shifting to a worried amber. We need to go to the basement. Now, she whispered. What is it? Ty asked, following her toward the basement door. A scanner drone. They found this area. Her voice was tight with fear. 2 weeks earlier, after learning about the threat to Earth, Ta had lined his basement ceiling with old lead sheeting he'd salvaged from a construction site. As an aerospace engineer, he understood radiation shielding. The lead wouldn't block everything, but it might help hide Mira's non-human biology from detection. They hurried down the stairs, Ty closing and locking the basement door behind them. The space was small but comfortable now, with a cot, some supplies, and Mira's repair equipment set up on an old desk. The drone flew over Ta's backyard at dusk. Too small for human technology, too silent. Mira explained, her translation device adding words her English couldn't yet express. They're scanning for biological signatures. My people, but not my friends. Collectors? Ty asked, his mouth dry. Mira nodded. The attack pattern matches their technology. Ty sat heavily on a folding chair. How did they find us? They likely detected the energy signature when I tested my communication device yesterday. Her skin rippled with regret. I'm sorry. I thought the test was too brief to detect. What do we do now? Ty asked. Wait. Hope the lead shielding blocks enough of my biological signature. Her eyes shifted to a steely blue. If they detect nothing unusual, they may move on. They sat in tense silence for nearly an hour. Eventually, Ty's phone buzzed with a text message. He looked at the screen and groaned. It's my neighbor, June. He wants to know if I saw the weird drone thing over our houses. Mira's translator beeped with alarm. Has he reported it? I don't know. Ta typed a quick response, claiming he hadn't seen anything unusual. June had been acting strange lately. 3 days ago, he had cornered Ta while he was getting the mail. So when do we get to meet her? June had asked with a too-wide smile. Meet who? Ta had replied, genuinely confused. Your foreign girlfriend, the one who moved in with you. June winked. The neighbors have seen her through your windows. Exotic looking, they say. Ta had mumbled something about a visiting cousin and escaped back inside. But June kept watching the house. Sometimes Ty would catch him staring from across the street. Once, he even found footprints in the soft dirt beneath his living room window. His neighbor, June, had been asking questions, too many questions, about Ta's foreign girlfriend no one had met. Mira said now, reading the worry on Ta's face. Could he be working with them? The collectors? Ty asked. Mira shook her head. Unlikely. They don't typically use local humans, but he could complicate things if he brings attention to us. Ty checked his phone again. 3 missed calls from June in the past 10 minutes. I think we need a more active defense, Ta said, moving to a box of electronics he'd been gathering. Something to jam their scanners or confuse them with Earth technology. Mira asked skeptically. Ta smiled thinly. I'm an aerospace engineer, not a spy. He complained while pulling out various devices and beginning to strip wires. But I understand electromagnetic interference. If their scanners work on any principle similar to our technology, we might be able to create enough noise to mask your presence. Mira watched with interest as Ty worked, connecting parts from old microwaves, radios, and cell phones. His fingers moved with practiced skill despite his frustration. You've built something like this before? She asked. No, but I understand the theory. He connected another wire. Frequency disruption isn't that different across technologies. Basic principles still apply. As Ta worked, sweat beading on his forehead, Mira moved closer. Her skin glowed faintly with blue admiration. She placed her 6-fingered hand gently over his. On my world, we have a saying. The stars favor those who adapt. You're better at this than you think. Tad looked up, meeting her color-shifting eyes. For a moment, they stayed like that, connected by touch and gaze. Then his phone rang again, breaking the spell. June, Ta muttered, silencing the call. Hours passed as Ty finished his creation. A makeshift signal jammer cobbled together from household electronics. It looked like a mess of wires and circuit boards, but when he powered it up, the air seemed to thicken slightly around them. It's working, Mira said, her skin flickering with excitement. I can feel the field. Ty placed the device near the basement window. It won't last long. The batteries will drain quickly. Just then, the motion sensor lights outside flashed on. Ta crept to the small basement window and peered out. 3 figures moved across his backyard. They looked human at first glance, but their movements were too smooth, too coordinated. They carried small devices that pulsed with soft light. They're here, Ta whispered. Mira joined him at the window. Her skin went completely still, a sign of deep fear among her people. Collectors, she confirmed. 3 of them, wearing human disguises. The figures moved methodically around the yard, their scanning devices sweeping back and forth. As one approached the basement window, Ta ducked down, pulling Mira with him. Will your jammer work? he whispered. "We'll know soon," she replied, her voice barely audible. They heard footsteps on the porch above, then the sound of knocking. Taz's phone buzzed again. June calling. The knocking became more insistent, then stopped. For 15 tense minutes, they remained motionless in the basement. Finally, the motion lights outside went dark. Taz risked another look. "They're conferring in the yard," he whispered. "They look confused." Mira peeked as well. "The lead hunter keeps checking his scanner. Your device is working. It's creating false readings." They watched as the hunters made one more circuit of the house, their movements now less coordinated, more frustrated. Finally, they retreated to the street. "They're leaving," Taz said, hardly believing it. They actually fell for it. When the hunters came that night, Taz's improvised defenses had confounded technology thousands of years more advanced than Earth's. As the last figure disappeared from view, Mira's skin exploded with patterns of gold and silver, joy and relief. "You did it," she said, turning to Taz with wonder in her eyes. "You protected us with scraps of human technology." Taz smiled wearily. "Don't celebrate yet. They'll be back with better equipment, and we still have June to worry about. But for tonight, at least, they were safe. Earth was safe, and somehow, against impossible odds, a human engineer had outsmarted alien hunters with nothing more than household electronics and determination. 3 months had passed since Mira crashed to Earth. 3 months of hiding, of close calls with the collectors, of Taz learning about the universe beyond his small blue planet. The hunters had returned twice more, each time with better equipment, but each time Taz had found new ways to confuse their scanners. Now, finally, Mira's properly repaired communication device had made contact with her own people, the Preservers. It was a cool autumn evening, much like the night when Taz had first found her. They sat together on his rooftop, a blanket wrapped around their shoulders against the chill. Above them, stars glittered in a cloudless sky. "My rescue team arrives tomorrow," Mira said, her eyes reflecting the starlight as she gazed upward. "They found a safe approach road. No collectors will detect them." Taz nodded, his throat tight with emotion he couldn't express. Part of him had always known this day would come, but he wasn't prepared for how empty he felt at the thought of her leaving. "I should be happy for you," he said finally. "You get to go home." Mira's skin rippled with complex patterns of blue and silver, a mixture of joy and sadness that Taz had learned to recognize. "The council was surprised by my reports," she said. "About you. About how you helped me." "I didn't do much," Taz shrugged. "Just basic hospitality." Mira turned to face him fully, her eyes shifting to a warm amber color. "You sheltered an alien being in your home. You protected me from hunters with technology far beyond yours. You shared your world without fear." Her skin pulsed with emphasis. "No other quarantined world has ever reacted this way to first contact." Taz smiled slightly. "Maybe your council underestimates humans." "Perhaps we do," Mira agreed. Her hand moved to a small pouch at her waist. "That's why I've been authorized to leave you with something." She withdrew a small object and held it up. It was a crystal about the size of a thumb, perfectly clear except for threads of blue light that seemed to move inside it. It caught the starlight and scattered it in tiny rainbows across Mira's face. "What is it?" Taz asked as she pressed the crystal into his palm. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse gently against his skin. "Not advanced weapons or faster-than-light technology," she explained. "Just medical knowledge. Cures for diseases that would have taken you decades to discover." Taz stared at the crystal in wonder. "This little thing contains medical cures." Mira nodded. "Data storage. Compatible with Earth computers, but you'll need to build a special reader. The plans are included in the data." Taz closed his fingers around the crystal, feeling its slight warmth. "Why are you giving me this? Isn't it against your rules?" "Technically, yes," Mira admitted, her skin flickering with mischievous purple. But the Council granted me discretion after hearing my full report. This knowledge won't advance your weapons or space travel capability. It will only save lives. A shooting star streaked across the sky above them. Ta wondered if it might be Mira's people, coming to take her home. "Will I see you again?" he asked quietly, already knowing the answer. Her smile was sad, an expression she had learned from humans. "Not for many years, I think. Earth must still develop at its own pace." They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars together. So much had changed for Ta. The universe had gone from empty and theoretical to filled with life and possibilities. "What will you tell your people about Earth? About us?" he asked. Mira's skin glowed with warm colors. "I'm posting our story to what you might call Galactic Reddit." Her translation device helped with the joke. "I crashed on a primitive world. A human took me in. He was more advanced than anyone expected." Ta laughed softly. "Galactic Reddit. You have space social media. Information sharing networks exist everywhere intelligent life gathers," Mira said with a shrug she had copied from him. "Different technology, same concept." As the night deepened around them, Ta felt the weight of what tomorrow would bring. No more watching Mira discover Earth's simple wonders. No more late-night conversations about distant worlds. No more colors dancing across her skin as she listened to him play piano. "What happens now?" he asked. "For Earth, I mean." "Your world continues as before," Mira said, "but with new eyes watching. Friendlier eyes, and the collectors. My rescue team has already neutralized their local observation post. They won't trouble this region again." Her skin darkened with seriousness. "The Council will increase protection around Earth's solar system." In the distance, an owl hooted. Ta thought about how strange it was that such ordinary sounds would continue after Mira left, the world going on as if nothing had changed, when everything had changed for him. "I should sleep," Ta said finally, though sleep felt impossible. "If your team arrives tomorrow, we should be rested." Mira nodded, though she required little sleep herself. They climbed down from the roof and went inside. At the guest room door, they paused. "Thank you," Mira said simply, her skin glowing with genuine warmth. "For everything." Tai wanted to say more, to find words big enough to contain what these months had meant to him. Instead, he just nodded and retreated to his own room. Morning came too quickly. Mira's people arrived not in a dramatic spaceship, but in an ordinary-looking van that pulled up to Ta's house at dawn. 3 figures emerged, looking human at first glance, but moving with the same fluid grace as Mira. Their skin showed subtle color patterns visible only up close. The goodbyes were brief. There wasn't time for more, with the risk of detection still present. Mira embraced Ta, her skin flickering with colors he had never seen before, emotions his human eyes couldn't fully perceive or understand. Then she was gone, walking away with her own kind, leaving Ta standing alone in his doorway with the crystal clutched in his hand. Days passed. Tai returned to work, to normal life, though nothing felt normal anymore. He began the slow process of building the reader for Mira's crystal, gathering components carefully to avoid suspicion. 1 week after Mira's departure, as Tai sat at his desk, looking over the partially completed reader, a soft chime sounded from the drawer where he had stored her old translation device. He had kept it as a memento, never expecting it to activate again. The small screen glowed as he opened the drawer. A simple message appeared, text only. No translation needed. The Council votes next cycle on Earth's status. I've nominated you as first ambassador. Be ready. Tai read the message 3 times, his heart racing. Then he looked up at the night sky visible through his window. Somewhere up there, Mira was advocating for Earth, for him, before a council of beings from across the galaxy. He placed the translator gently on his desk beside the crystal and the half-built reader. Then he pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and began to write, preparing for a future he could barely imagine. My name is Tai, he wrote. I am human, And this is what I've learned about our place in the universe. Rhetoric Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.